Hi community of awesome, I'm Ava J and this is Bookish Pixie. So given that I've traditionally published, most of the time when I talk about publishing on this channel, it's about traditional publishing. The reason for that honestly is just because traditional publishing is what I have the most experience in. But given that self-publishing is a totally legitimate and popular option, I want to talk about that today too. Specifically, I want to talk about why self-publishing is not a backup option. If you want to self-publish and you want to be a successful self-published author, then you need to do it right. What I mean by that is you need to treat self-publishing like a career. Because it is. The self-published authors who are successful are the ones who take it seriously. They hire editors, formatters, cover designers, etc. Self-publishing for these authors is the end goal. But if your ultimate goal is to become traditionally published, then you might want to think twice before self-publishing. First of all, you can't sell a book that you've already self-published unless it sells like a bajillion copies. And honestly, even that transference from a book that was a massive bestseller as a self-published book to a traditional print format doesn't happen quite as often as it used to. That's not to say that it never happens, but depending on that scenario is kind of like depending on the lottery, which is not the most reliable option. When you go into self-publishing with the goal of eventually becoming a traditionally published author, you need to think about how your self-published books are going to affect your career as a traditionally published author. Because once you start self-publishing, people start to care about your sales numbers if you want to go into traditional publishing. Again, that might work for you if you sell really, really well, but it's a risky thing to depend on. The self-published marketplace should not be where you upload your manuscripts just because they were rejected by gatekeepers in traditional publishing. Because the truth is, if your manuscript isn't ready to be traditionally published, then it's probably not ready to be self-published either. There are totally hybrid authors who publish both traditionally and independently, so I don't want you to think it's impossible. But when you consider self-publishing, you need to remember that this is a career-altering move and not a stepping stone toward traditional publishing. So if your goal is to be a successful self-published author, then go for it. But if your main reason for wanting to self-publish is because you haven't yet been able to break into the traditional marketplace, then I encourage you to take a step back and think about your options carefully. So that's all I got for today. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and comment, and I'll see you guys next week.